Great view looking down the pit lane here at the circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet. Paul Ricard, the Marseille-based drinks magnate who created his empire in pastis. And there you can see on Tom Coronel's board what needs doing on the car. Dampers, really? Suspension? I don't know, hopefully not.
It's a vague term, isn't it, Martin? It could be a whole host of things.
Yeah, actually, I was just talking to Dominic Greiner earlier, and he said, hey, do you like the new board? I said, yeah. Where's the one that says clean underwear? Where's the one with the car upside down that just says forget it? You know, that little list of jobs to do is excellent, but I think definitely there's some more suggestions that could be made for the next few weeks.
It's difficult as well because the teams don't really want all their rivals to know what they've got to change. They don't want to know that they really struggle with brakes at the end of the race, or they had, you know, issues with cooling or whatever else. So, yeah, I think the teams want to keep those terms as vague as they can, Martin, much to our disappointment up in the commentary box.
I think probably amongst the Chevrolet teams, not so much. However, at the slightly more paranoid end of the pit lane, absolutely so. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, Hugo obviously not as hot and bothered after that early retirement in race 1.
So where does the contact come with Thiago wheel to wheel? And then there's a couple of little biffs.
Yeah, Thiago didn't leave him much room anywhere, did he?
No.
Like you say, probably a racing incident, but certainly couldn't have been any harder.
I think the damage came from a tyre stack, actually. We saw him hit it, and I think that's where it all came from.
We've heard from Sebastian Loeb, we've heard from Ivan Muller. Let's just try and catch up with Pachito here. Sorry to interrupt, guys. It looked like a tough race for you there.
No, very nice. Not tough. I had to work a little bit, but very happy with my race. You know, I always say, like, I like to, if I have to die, I want to die with a fight, you know. I give a fight, I tried my best. I was competing with one of the best drivers in the world, Ivan defend, and, you know, we are teammates, you know, so we try to do our best, but also, you know, we have to respect each other.
Talk me through on, I think it was around lap 8, Ivan made a small mistake. Looked like you were almost there, side by side with him. What happened there?
No, I think Ivan went to bed. He just braked very early and opened the door like if I was not there, and I went for it. I knew that place was important for me. I saw it every lap that he was braking very early, so, and the only problem, I was not able to exit it close enough. So, sorry. I'm eating a bit. So I exit close and I went for it, and it was really, really close, because when he saw me, he closed the door, but I was already there.
I have to say, you look like you've got your spark back, because earlier when we spoke to you, you seemed maybe a little bit under the weather.
No, I never lose my spark. I'm always very motivated. Just sometimes it's not possible to be in the top of these guys, you know, because they are very good. So I'm always fighting. I'm always giving my best, and for sure, you know, sometimes things don't go like you want, but you need to fight back and try it again.
Great stuff, thank you. I'll just go and watch the microphone. Thanks, Pachito.
No need for that, Alex. He did apologise, and you did interrupt him in his lunch. There's a thing. You know, and that's why, Richard, it's called motor racing, not just motor winning. He is in against a 4-time world champion, a 9-time world champion, and he's a world champion himself. Nothing here comes easy. Nobody gives you anything. Look at Rob Huff, you know, same as in qualifying. The car is giving him a tough ride this weekend. That was a big impact there, side by side with, wasn't John Philippi, so was that Greg?
I think it was Greg.
Yeah, I think it was. So, you know, and he tried to drag it back to the team, and in the end just ran out of momentum. Once the car spun here, and he's got no momentum left, I think he pretty much had to give it up. Well, Neil is down with Rob Huff. His car is back. What can they do?
Well, you can see that the left wheel and the right wheel are kind of slightly home and away. There's gravel on the right tyre still. Rob Huff, it doesn't look good for race 2, but talk us through what happened in race 1.
Yeah, we were all sort of going side by side through turn 1 and 2, as we do at the start of the races. I was on the inside of Demoustier, and I think he obviously just didn't see me there and had a good sort of turn for the apex, but I was there by the time he got there as well. We arrived in the middle, very much a racing incident, but Unfortunately, it's caused the same damage on the rear that happened yesterday in the qualifying, where it snapped the rear hub. It's also done the front one as well. It's broken the steering, pulled the drive shaft out. Yeah, we won't be getting back out today for sure.
It's a shame as well, because you were beached out there for so long, and getting the car back here meant that you don't have enough time in repair time.
No, exactly. It sort of took 2 or 3 laps for the marshals to make a decision on what to do, and then they wanted to drag it. But I'm saying to them that with no steering, with 2, 3 wheels facing the wrong direction, you're only going to damage the car, and of course it's damaged the car a lot more than putting it on the truck. They're trying to do it as quickly as possible to get it out of the way, and I think they maybe don't realise that these cars cost a lot of money, and you know, unfortunately, a lot more damage has been done by getting the car back in a bit of a rush and to get it out of the way, which is a real shame, because it gives the boys a lot more work to do, and maybe, you know, could have without that extra damage, maybe we could have got out, but no, it's not our weekend.
And what do you take away from this weekend? Because a disappointment yesterday in qualifying, didn't even finish, you know, full laps in race 1. How do you sort of philosophize and move forward?
You know, motorsport's full of character-building weekends, and this is definitely one of them. You know, good things to take is that, again, you know, it's the first time we've had weight in the car, which, okay, slows us down, but it's a good thing. It's the first time in 5 or 6 years that Lada have been here they've ever had weight, so it means we're catching people up, and that's what we've got to remember. You know, we've got a lot of work to do with the car. We've only had 1 day's testing. We're staying here to do a few more, so, you know, we're going to start creeping up on people for sure.
Oh, good. Thanks, Rob.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, with that yellow Rosneft livery, they're not going to be catching anybody by surprise, are they? You see them coming a long way away. But with broken drive shaft, with the left side suspension all needing replacing, and you know, other damage underneath, which probably floor and splitter and everything else, you know, that's a full day's rebuild, isn't it? That's not viable in the 10 minutes that they're going to have. Repair time has started, or has started? Yes.
Yeah.
Started.
We're 5 minutes into repair time now. Pit lane's just about to open in 10 seconds' time.
So the mechanic's favourite tool after the £5 lump hammer is the roll of gaffer tape, which fixes all ills. If you can't fix it with a hammer and gaffer, it's really broken.
Absolutely. And just going back to the Lada, you know, we've seen them being quite fragile, you know, not even sometimes needing contact to have failures. And, yeah, he obviously had a rub against another car, but that's a lot of damage for that kind of contact.
We saw Rob chatting with Hugues de Schoenack in the garage yesterday after that hub failure, and the significance of that, of course, is that at their Manicourt base, Lada are in one of the Orica workshops, one of Hugues de Schoenack's workshops. So not only are the engines built there, but also some of the engineering that Lada are using in the cars is coming via the Orica operation. So having Hugues here, Hugues got another big base here at Paul Ricard, which is where their prototype builds are all coming from. The main engine shop is still at another home of the French Grand Prix at Manicourt. But having Hugues here allows him to sort of see firsthand what the problem is, what the damage is, and so on. Well, so for Lada, they were down to, just dropped to draws right there in the middle of the corner, Thiago's car. Well, that's obviously a little bit of an earlier impact, but it's unusual to see it not flapping and getting dragged off, but just over a bump, doink, left in the track there.
Yeah, sometimes the engineers put weak points in bodywork just so it doesn't get into the tyre or cut the tyre. You know, sometimes it's much better for it to break off, but yeah, it did go very easily there. It's
a bit like a Bertie Fisher Opel Manta rear hatchback. So, drivers getting back into their cars. As you saw Pachito having a little bit of food, and actually, you know, whether or not you change your overalls or whether you just let them stick to you and get back into the car and allow the heat to dry them out or whatever, or you know, make them even wetter, doesn't really matter too much. It's just all personal opinion. Tom Chilton, that little practice start as he leaves the pit lane. Richard, this is the only place you're allowed to do this. You can't do rolling starts off the grid or anywhere else. You practice your standing start in that one defined place. Well, let's catch up with Thiago Montero. Maybe Alex can find out why his car was shedding bits around the track.
Thiago, it looked like you were busy dropping parts of your car around race 1 there. What happened with your bumper?
I was trying to get lighter, you know, and I don't know, probably, you know, I was a bit pushed at the beginning of the first race, so maybe the support of the bumper got damaged, and with the vibration and the speed, gave up after a while. It was towards the end. It didn't really affect too much the car, actually.
You're now on second row of the grid, P4 for race 2. Strategy then into that first corner?
Well, obviously the start will be important. I did a very bad start, so I'll try to do a better one now.
All the best.
Well, Thiago did a bit of rubbing and a bit of racing and a bit more rubbing earlier in the race, getting by Hugo Vallant and then finishing up behind Norbert Michelis. So the grid for race 2, Mehdi Benani will start on pole ahead of Jaap van Lagen. Norby and Thiago will be on row 2. And the hope here, unlike Slovakia last week, is that they will manage to keep some of the Citroens behind them, at least for the first lap, if not for the rest of the race. 16 laps, though, is quite a long time to try and be defending against what is clearly the class of the field in terms of performance.
Absolutely, and Citroen made really good starts in race 1, so it's quite a wide grid here. I'm sure they're going to pick up some spaces off the grid. Gabriele Taccuini was well, pretty damning in the press about how, you know, Citroen have now caught up on their starts, and an advantage that the Honda has now gone. They were all very disappointed with their performances in Slovakia Ring. I think the whole paddock expected that to be a good circuit for the Honda. I don't think there's anybody more surprised than Honda themselves, really. They didn't have a good weekend at all.
No, I agree. After Moscow suited the car well, you thought that Slovakia would do as well. Similar tight and twisty for predominantly most of the lap. We didn't quite see that they were changing brakes for Sebastian Loeb's car, but again, you saw the mechanic walking away with that tool tray that was down there, and that certainly looked as though that had all the paraphernalia for a brake change. I'm not sure what else there might have been there that you'd be doing. Cars heading out, 5 minutes and 25 seconds still to get out of the pit lane. What's going on with Hugo Vallant's damaged car? Neil Cole can tell us.
So, Hugo, I saw them working on this car for the whole of race 1 after you retired, and you stayed in the car for ages. Tell us what happened, and will you get out for race 2?
Well, what happened is that I got hit at the beginning of race 2. My steering wheel was bended from then on. Then I made a mistake and I hit the tire pack when I was behind Thiago. That's the problem when we put tire pack on the track, is that when you're very close from the car in front of you, you don't see what the tire pack is. So I hit it with the side of the car, and sadly it damaged the whole inside and the whole parts under. The radiators are damaged, the splitter, everything is damaged under the car. So I hope they can manage to fix it. I know they've done a good job in the past, but I think it's going to be very difficult.
And I mean, how late will the call be for you to get in? Because the cars are assembling already.
I know. I think we have 4 minutes now, so I'm going to get in the car and hope for the best.
Good luck. Thank you.
Richard Coleman again. The pressure here is to try and get as much as you can done in the pits and then get him out. Otherwise, he'll be forced to start in the pit lane if the red light is on at the exit.
Absolutely, he's only got just under 4 minutes to get out, and yeah, Campos may well have done what they needed to do in the pit lane, but there may well be a few jobs for those guys to finish off on the grid. But the important thing is they reach the end of that pit lane in the next 3.5 minutes, which it looks like they will do.
Well, he needs to get in the car for a start. You can still see him standing outside it, so I wonder quite how ready it is to go. It's down on its wheels. There is the offending item, or one of the offending items, the tyre stacks on the curbs.
Been a bit controversial this weekend, some of the tyre stack placements. Some of the drivers happy, some of the drivers not. But it is the same for everybody.
Yeah, they're fine until you hit them, and then they do a lot of damage. They hit back.
You know, Hugo's been an amazing talent, and some of his laps this year have been phenomenal, but you have to say he is still ending up in the scenery a few too many times.
Well, still young and still impatient, and that's, you know, that will come with age and maturity, that he will just bide his time a little more, as guys like Thiago, guys like Gabriele or Tom Coronel or Ivan Muller do, you know. So
absolutely,
that all comes. Drivers coming back down pit lane now before they head onto the grid.
Quick cheeky practice start before they
the championship final rounds. Round 14 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship coming up here from the circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet. Air temperature balmy 29 degrees, track temperature hovering up towards 50, and the day is still getting hotter. Hardly a breath of air as well. Yesterday, Richard Coleman, there was a bit of a blessed breeze for qualifying, but today it is still and stultifying. This is a proper French meaty afternoon. It is getting real. Luckily, we're in a very nice, cool, air-conditioned booth with no heat from the sun, so we're relishing this. But for the drivers, it's going to be absolute furnace inside the car.
And these cars have a lot of heat soak. They're all hot from race 1, not much time to cool them down before race 2. So the drivers are getting back into an oven, really, on the grid for this next race.
Former world champion Rob Huff will play no part with a broken drive shaft, 2 broken hubs and no steering on his car after race 1. He, I'm afraid, will be watching from the sidelines. Keep calm and support Hugo Valence, the T-shirts say. Well, Philippe de Corsac, his advisor there in the door, just trying to calm his nerves as well as Hugo's before they take the start of race 2. Our DHL pole sitter is Moroccan Mehdi Benani, ahead of Dutchman Jaap van Lagen, Citroën and Lada, ahead of the 2 Hondas of Hungarian Norbert Michelis and Portuguese Tiago Monteiro. Not happy with the variety of languages? Well, we've got Frenchman Hugo Valence, Englishman Tom Chilton, Chinese man Qinghua Ma, and Argentine Jose Maria Lopez. 8 different nationalities in the top 8. And then we get the hometown favourites. Yvan Muller, Sebastian Loeb, Gregoire de Moustier, Nicky Katzberg, the Dutchman, ahead of fellow Dutchman Tom Coronel, Italy's Gabriele Tarquini and Stefano D'Aste, Sweden's Ricard Rydell, John Philippi from France, and Rob Huff, unfortunately, not on the grid here. He is the only absentee after Nicky Katzberg's car had its starter motor replaced during race 1, and he will make a full and normal start from his position on the grid. And Katzberg's been, like Jaap van Lagen, a great introduction to the team. Really poor timing, I'm afraid, for James Thompson, that he fell out of the loop just as the car started to prove it was reliable as well as potentially performing well. It's now performing well because bits aren't dropping off it with such monotonous regularity. And I think Jimmy is probably feeling that he would be able to do at least as good a job as either of the 2 new boys in the team now that bits are staying on.
Absolutely. I mean, the car's been developing at such a rate that it's been difficult to get a real read of how the drivers all are, and you have to feel very sorry for Tomo, but Victor Shapovalov wanted to go in a different direction. Yep. And you have to say, you know, Katzberg in Slovakia, you know, Q3 contender, drove very well the whole weekend. Yep. You have to say, you can't say he's made a bad decision, no. You know, but time will tell as to how things work out for the long term.
2 race wins on the bounce for Sebastian Loeb. He's on a hat-trick. What a story that would be. He won the 2nd race in Slovakia. That was win number 2 of the season. He's now just won the 1st race here in France. Less than 7 days in time later. And if he could claim that hat-trick, take a clean sweep here, pole rather, and both race wins, that would be a phenomenal result for him. He's got a lot of traffic to work through though in front of him. He starts 10th. Yvan Muller, 4-time World Touring Car Champion, starts 9th in a similar car. And Jose Maria Lopez, the reigning World Touring Car Champion, starts 8th. So apart from them, he's got another 7 cars to get by as well, including pole sitter Mehdi Benani and his Citroën. But we do occasionally get some phenomenal feel-good stories in the championship, and that would really be one for the ages.
This is Pachito's chance, really. You know, he's starting ahead of his teammates. If he can get up there and even win the race, and Yvan finishes 2nd, he's actually going to come away with more points from this weekend than Yvan. Yeah. Even though Yvan's been the quicker driver, and it's going to really frustrate him. And he knows that, and that's why he's got a smile on his face right now. You know, yeah. He's very relaxed in that interview. Absolutely right.
2 2nd places to a win and a 3rd for each of his teammates last time out in Slovakia meant that he lost just 4 points in total. Despite not winning a race, he was still racking up the points, and that's exactly what he was telling Alex Le Gui earlier on. When you're not 100%, you just got to be there, just be there. And by virtue of the fact that you're a top driver in a top car, you're going to pick up loads of points. Qinghua Ma, well, what a enterprising find again for the Citroën team. This young man came in, won a race last season in Moscow, and that was not a gimme either. It wasn't handed to him on a plate. Full season this year, so he's now venturing to lots of tracks that he's predominantly not been to before and not raced at before, and that makes it hard. But he is still holding his own, 4th place in race 1, and he will be the first of the factory Citroëns on the grid. Just in front of him, a row of Chevys. Tom Chilton will start in 6th position, and Hugo Vallant in 5th place. Tom's car in 5th in race 1. No dramas, no damage, no repairs needed doing. Just a bit of a wash and brush up, and he must be feeling fairly relaxed where he sits on the grid, although on the run down to turn 1, there's of course going to be an awful lot of Citroën behind him.
Absolutely. Marked feature here, you know, Martin. If he gets a good lap, gets ahead of a couple of cars in the first turn, his pace is pretty good. I think the race is going to be dependent on Benani and Van Lagen. Their pace isn't that good, and behind them, Michelitz, Montero, Valenta, Chilton got pretty good pace. Could really mix it up. A lot's going to count on this first corner.
Well, the hastily repaired car of Hugo Vallant looks like it's ready to go. I'm sure the team will be very keen to keep an eye on temperatures, especially during the formation lap. Just once the car has sat here and that heat from the out lap has soaked in a bit and all the coolants are up to temperature, just to make sure that there's no major dramas. It'd be better to pull the car out of the race than to destroy an engine, that's for certain. Better, certainly an awful lot cheaper. In front of the Chevys on the grid sits this all Honda row 2. Thiago Montero starts in 4th place on the race 2 grid, and he will absolutely be targeting a podium here. But then so will the 3 cars in front of him, and at least a dozen cars behind him. So, you know, there's always 15 cars that can finish on the podium. There's always a dozen cars that could win any of these races, and that's what makes it so tough for the drivers and such an achievement when they do get onto that top step.
It's not actually that easy to overtake around here. There's only a couple of places. Like we said, very light on brakes. There's only a couple of big stops. Best chance is probably turn 1 and turn 3.
Well, hometown winners so far this year. Jose Maria Lopez won in Argentina. No Moroccan win, I'm afraid, for Mehdi Benani. Norbert Michelis won in Hungary. No German victory in Germany, although our race winner Ivan Muller from Alsace kind of vaguely slender. No Russian win in Russia, and no Slovakian win in Slovakia, but we have had a French win already here in France, courtesy of Sebastian Loeb in race 1. So 3 race weekends so far, we've had a hometown winner. And as the cars get ready, 3 minutes to go before they leave the grid. Wonder what thoughts are going through Mehdi Benani's head. He knows he's in one of the quickest cars in the field. He's in the best position to control the race from the front. This could be a big opportunity for him to go out and win another World Touring Car race. Race 1 winner Sebastian Loeb will start in 10th place for race 2 here in Paul Ricard, round 14 at the World Touring Car Championship. He already has home victory under his belt. Is there any way that he can complete the hat-trick of wins following on from race 2 in Slovakia and race 1 here and take a second home victory this afternoon? It's possible. Anything in sport is possible, especially in motor racing. Never rule it out. But out front, leading the field round, Mehdi Benani, the Moroccan driver in a Sebastian Loeb Racing run Citroën C-Élysée. So were he to claim the top step of the podium for his second ever career victory in World Touring Cars, in some ways that too would be a home win for Sebastian Loeb. One for the driver and one for the team boss. Lots of Moroccan eyes following Mehdi Benani's progress. He is one of the country's biggest sporting stars. It's kind of hard to put into perspective just how large a star he is. But he's as big as any national sports star they have.
He's going to have to step up his pace. His pace in race 1 wasn't great, Martin, so I suspect him to struggle, really.
So Bernani on pole from Jaap van Lagen. And behind them, 2 Hondas, Norbert Michelis, Thiago Monteiro, and the rest of the field. Green flag waves at the back of the grid for round 14 of the World Touring Car Championship in Le Castellet, France. Red lights are on, Mehdi Bernani jumps the start, away they go. Jaap van Lagen will lead after this first corner. Thiago Monteiro in alongside Norbert Michelis. Bernani a long way clear at the start, and that is nerves, that is trying to anticipate. And Jaap van Lagen then will be our moral leader, but he cuts the corner on the inside by a very big margin. The stewards have already got a lot of work to do. Nicky Katzberg went back at the start and is last out of turn 1. So Thiago Monteiro in third, as immediately behind him comes Quing Hamar. Jaap van Lagen gets bounced out by Lopez. And around the outside of Valente, who was that? That's Muller. No, that's Loeb. So where's Muller? De Moustier with the hazards on didn't leave the grid, and maybe that's why the Lada was way at the back. And Muller is still only 10th. Wow, what a chance now for Lopez, who got in front of Loeb and Muller, to follow Mar through the traffic, because there will be a penalty for Bernani that must be applied. Surely that jump start, you know, somebody not watching TV could have seen that.
No question.
And Van Lagen potentially as well, so
I think Van Lagen probably get away with it, but no question Bernani's going to get a penalty, I would say.
Yeah. Lopez got by Mar in the run onto the Mulsanne, onto the straight, and Muller trying to get around Chilton, his former teammate, cuts him off now. Muller lunges down the inside.
Yeah, Muller not having a great first lap compared to his teammates.
He's got to keep the car intact, though, Richard, hasn't he? He must stay in one piece.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Lopez has had a good first lap. There's a number of cars between them.
Coronel's pace was very strong in race 1. Muller's on the inside and will stay there and will stay off the brakes until he notices that Chilton's on them. Now he picks up 1 spot. Muller's up to 9th. And Nicky Katzberg just in front of John Philippi. Grégoire de Moustier way out the back of the field. The car didn't leave the grid for whatever reason. So Mehdi Bernani leads. Norbert Michelis, Thiago Monteiro.
Chilton's just run wide on the exit of
so he has.
Turn 4.
Through goes Tarquini. Look at that jump start. No question about that. Yeah. Away he goes.
By a long way.
And I'm afraid that didn't look like clutch creep. That just looked like driver error. And there's his mum. And she'll be heartbroken, and his dad at that. He travelled to all the races with him. They're his little, built-in protection unit, if you like. Thiago Monteiro here in third, lap 2, and Lopez already looking for a podium spot. He's got Mar as rear gunner, and behind him Loeb. So not only are they separating him in the points, but they're also separating him in a road from Ivan Muller's opportunity to get back. And as Lopez said, in the gap between the races, when you're not 100%, you've got to be there, and you've got to take the chances when they come, and boy, has he.
Absolutely. It's going to be very, very difficult for Ivan to get past his other 2 teammates in equal machinery. This is looking very good for Lopez. He's already over the back of Monteiro.
Muller up behind the yellow car of Valente, and Valente defending hard. Lopez all over the back of Monteiro. Lopez can't afford contact here, cannot afford a 0. Even if he has to follow Thiago all the way to the line, he'll still outscore Muller. And Muller all over the back of Hugo Valente, and one thing we know about Hugo is he is hard to overtake.
Yeah.
Muller trying to can open him up the inside, didn't work.
Not easy to pass here at all. They're just climbing up to Signy now. Ivan's in the tow, building up to 220 kilometers an hour through there.
Fastest race lap for Jose Maria Lopez. He has the record, 1:31.468. He's just on 1:31.57 on lap 2. So that track record should go here.
Michelitz has really got to get a move on at the moment. He needs to make the best of this phase of the race where Pachito's tucked up behind Monteiro in the sister Honda.
At the moment, Norby's potentially looking at a 2nd race win, because we've just been notified of a drive-through for car number 25. That is our current race leader, Mehdi Bernani, and he will take it immediately. In fact, I'd be amazed if he's not coming down the pit road as he comes to the final corner, leaving Norbert Michelis in the lead. As cars come across the line, I'm looking out of the window as you watch the screen. No sign of Banani there. I'm sure he's come down pit road.
Yep.
Norby comes past us in the lead. So Banani on pit road, taking that drive-through penalty early in the hope of maybe making something out of it. Oh, hang on, that was him right in the background. He was the last car across the line. So he has just backed off. No, he hasn't, he's just come out the pits.
Yeah.
So who was that red, white and green car at the back then? Don't know, didn't see him come under us, but he has. There he is anyway. So, Mehdi Banani, what a nightmare, and that's the nerves of being on pole and so desperately wanting to claim that race win. It's been a long while since his first victory, and that was an emotional and body-draining race in China in 2014. And the opportunity to win again, too much, and that's Loeb. He's hit the tyre stack somewhere. That must have been at senior. That's the only one that's on driver's left. And turning into senior, that's way north of 220 kilometers an hour in the Sichuan. That is a big old impact.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, he's hit that tyre.
And look what he's done to it. He shunted that into the middle of the track. That's the exit of the chicane.
Yeah, that's turn 4.
Wow. So, no dream double win here for Sebastian Loeb. A brush with the scenery. Good work on the marshals. You see how hefty those things are.
Absolutely, and you know, some of the drivers really did not like the way the race director placed them this weekend, and others thought it was a good idea.
Muller on Van Lagen. He's got by Vallant, and now with Norbert Mikulich leading, Muller is currently in 6th. Van Lagen is in 5th. Another good race for a Lada driver. Each one of them is seeming to have sort of a good race weekend. Van Lagen had a horrible time last time out in Moscow.
Yeah.
And now it's his chance to shine. This is Muller. Up behind Hugo, this is final corner. And it's the chicane again. Oh, and that was right behind Loeb, and I guess that Vallant had a little lift off the throttle to avoid Loeb's car, and Muller took advantage. He's got by Van Lagen as well. Muller is coming with the afterburners fully lit, and he's now up to 5th position. Lopez is in 3rd.
All these battles have cost Ivan, though. He's now quite a way behind his teammate Mar.
Jose Maria Lopez in 3rd, Quing Hamar in 4th, Ivan Muller now in 5th place ahead of the battle between Jaap Van Lagen and Hugo Vallant. And this is where it happened, up the inside into Seen. He's got enough grip, he can turn in shallow, offline, and not even trouble the curbs on the exit.
Makes it look easy, but it's 220 k's an hour for it there. That's brave stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Sure, they all cinch their belts up nice and tight when they're going out there.
Tom Chilton very close behind Tom Coronel, his Royal Motorsport teammate there, just having a little look into turn 1.
Yeah, Chilton's had a little bit of contact right rear.
Big moment for Volante though, he's off.
Yeah, way out wide there, and I wonder whether that's a legacy of that race 1 damage. And there's something in, maybe they haven't got a cooling duct attached and his brakes are starting to really boil, the pedal going to the floor. As long as you've got cooling air, they should be okay. But if you don't, then those 800-degree temperatures are not going to dissipate very quickly. Well, there you can see the battle for the lead. It's Mikulich, Montero and Lopez. And Mar is far enough behind Jose Maria Lopez that he can now concentrate on the Hondas, and they are holding each other up.
See, Michelin's for the best chance of this race really needed to make some hay whilst Montero's holding up the Citroens. And actually, Montero's been catching Michelin, so now it's a real dilemma for the Hondas. Obviously, they're not the same team, but they both respect Honda as much as they can. And yeah, it's not working out strategically for those guys right now.
Best lap for Norby, a 1:31.7 for Thiago, a 1:31.6, and for Jose Maria Lopez, a 1:31.5. So he's the quickest of the 3 in that order. Behind him, quickest lap for Quing Hamar, a 32.0, and for Ivan, a 32.0 as well. So Jose Maria with speed to give away early on, and he's got to use it now. Thiago goes so deep on the inside, he's in danger of not making the corner, and Lopez on the outside, and that was always going to happen. And through through goes Mar. Lopez has got to fight hard for this now.
Meanwhile, Ivan's tail will be up now. That's good news.